What can we look forward to from MORryde from the year 2025 and beyond? Also, we spent a little bit of time at the dealer open house in Elkhart, Indiana. All that coming up next on the Millers in Motion podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan, and along with my wife, Lauren, we make up what's known as Millers in Motion. We've been full-time content creators now for about 3 years or so. We've been doing our best to travel not only this country but the world as much as we possibly can and bring it all to you, whether it be RV life, cruising, air travel, you name it, how we do it, the exciting destinations, all of that stuff and beyond. Recently, I, Ryan, had a service appointment to take our RV back up to Elkhart, Indiana, a couple with Alliance RV and one with MORryde. So with the Alliance RV, it happened to be during Dealer Open House Week, so we got to do some fun things, hang out with our friends, Joe, Jeremiah, Ryan, Cully, Ab, and the rest of the team up there at Alliance, and we had an absolute blast. We actually had a full-length video over all the new things that they're coming out with 2025. But this week on the podcast, we wanted to deep dive into what's MORryde got going on. Now, if you are unfamiliar with MORryde, they create products that help you enhance your RV and the RV life, whether that be suspension systems, big slide-out trays to make things easier to get to, trays and different types of things for griddles, cord keepers, a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, honestly, the list goes on and on and on. Stairs. That's probably one of my favorite things, probably one of the more overlooked things because they're so good that most OEMs just put them on anyway, and different accessories that go along with that. So I'm going to stop talking right now, get out of the way, and we are going to bring Mr. Jack Enfield on from MORryde and chat about all things suspension and what's new for 2025 at MORryde. All right, welcome back. We are sitting in the headquarters of MORryde with Mr. Jack Enfield, the sales and marketing manager. Jack, how's it going over here today?
It's good, Ryan. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's great. We love our MORryde products, and we love coming up here and seeing what you guys are cooking up next, which we're going to get to in just a second. But if you don't mind, for anybody that is new to RVing, because that's the only way that somebody doesn't know about MORryde, in my personal opinion, what does MORryde do? Like, what's the elevator pitch for MORryde as a whole?
Yeah, so MORryde started over 50 years ago, and the very first product was a suspension system for trailers to haul RVs. And over the years, it's really kind of morphed and expanded and diversified. Our goal is just to build products that help people enjoy the RV more so they can enjoy the lifestyle more. So that's gone from suspension systems to storage solutions to steps to stabilizers to just a wide range of products that are all designed to help the RVer enjoy his product and the lifestyle more. And then MORryde also does a lot of fabrication because to build those products, we had to buy equipment. And so now probably a third of our business, we build parts for other industries as those people build their products.
Very cool. So you said you started in suspension, so let's just start in suspensions. I think that's the easiest transition if that's what you guys did first. I have a burning debate question because I've heard it called multiple ways, and I didn't warn you about this, but I wrote it down. So your CRE 3000, is it CRE or is it CRE?
That's funny. We should do a poll at some of the shows. It is the CRE 3000.
There's periods. I've seen them.
Many people call it CRE. So
well, because it's an acronym, isn't it?
Yep. Well, CRE is compression rubber equalizer.
Right, which is the rubber piece you see in there that is actually helping it do its thing.
That's exactly right. And the whole suspension thing came about years ago. We helped them haul trailers, but since then roads are rough, and roads are getting rougher, and the only debate in the country is which is the roughest road. And so we just have this wide range of suspension products. Think of it good, better, best.
Right.
And what they're designed to do is just help protect the RV, which is nothing more today than a house on wheels. And we want to protect the house on wheels from damaging road shock.
Well, I know that we had the CRE 3000 on our first coach, and when we made that change a little over a year ago now, I looked at my wife and I said, I am so tired of driving in America with even that upgrade. I can only imagine what it's like with just a traditional, essentially leaf spring with just a metal suspension. And so I knew for us a big upgrade was going to be that independent suspension, so that
given from the driver. The passenger didn't care quite so much, except for I would get frustrated.
Yeah.
But I knew the independent suspension for us was a massive must-have, either from factory, which I know some of the OEMs now are offering that, or to come here and have you guys put it on, which I preferred, because then if there was tweaking that needed to be done, I know that your engineers would get involved at that point. So as far as the independent suspension goes, since that's kind of everybody's want, right? That's the top of the list of the wants when it comes to suspension. What are some of the biggest benefits that people can see from that, coming from anything below, whether it's your product or somebody else's or just stock?
Yeah, as we said, roads are really rough, and an RV is a house on wheels going over rough roads. The difference is that house on wheels has, versus a true house with a foundation, is it's got railroad tracks, potholes, and everything. So what we want to do with suspension systems is provide as much travel as possible. Well, leaf springs are limited because they have an axle, so when one tire hits a bump, the other tire feels it. And then leaf spring only has about 2 inches of travel from unloaded to maximum. So the IS gives us the ability to really kind of start over. We throw away the axles, we throw away the leaf springs, and we use our rubber shear spring technology. And what that allows us to get is up to 5.5 inches of travel instead of 2 inches. And then by getting rid of the axle, we can now be independent. So what that means is when the right tire hits a chuck hole, the left tire doesn't even feel it.
Right.
And then we throw in a hydraulic gas-charged shock absorber, and so now we're controlling the tires from hopping, we're increasing the travel, and then we're allowing independent wheel action. And so we can just give you literally the best when it comes to towing performance. And because of the strength that we build into it, the size of the hangers, the cross members, we now make your frame stronger than it ever was.
Well, and I can tell you that I almost don't want to tell you this story because I'm terrified you might throw something at me, but we were pulling off the side of the road. We had one of our TPMS went off as far as like a high temperature. So if you travel with TPMS, you know what that means. You're potentially opening yourself up for a blowout. So we pulled off to the side of the road. Well, I didn't see how much of a drop there was. Now, this is with the Valor that has the independent suspension, but I came off of that, and let's just say when the truck hit it, I got very scared very quickly, and I hit that, and I used that left side, because it was the side that was high, used all of the travel it could possibly use. I promise. I'm surprised. And the box did shift, but nowhere near. I once we got pulled over, I looked at Lauren and I said, I don't even want to know. Like, I'm pretty sure if that was just any other system, we would have been on our side right there. Because I ended up going back and measuring for the fun of it, and it was about a 6.5 inch drop off the side of the road. And luckily we were fine. But if I had been in any other system that had a traditional axle, I'm pretty sure when that right side hit, that left side would have heaved me on my side potentially. So when you guys do an install for somebody with the independent suspension, what's some of the first comments that they normally come back and ask?
Yeah, so by the time they come here, this is a product that's a 20-year overnight success. It's been around for years and years and years, and it was mostly on just the high-end product. And then we started doing some aftermarket ones, and a few years ago it got a lot of exposure on the social media side of things. And so people are more aware of it now. In the past, we had to really explain and say, hey, we're going to get rid of your axles. We're going to give you so much more travel. Today, they have an expectation.
Right.
And so now the goal is to meet that expectation. The cool thing is where we're located, there's these railroad tracks just a couple blocks away.
Very aware of them.
Yeah, and the people who come here, they are aware when they spend the night here. But you literally pull 2 blocks away and you turn right and you go over railroad tracks. And that is their first exposure. And they go like, okay, wow, I feel the truck going over it. And then you just, the wheels on the trailer just literally stair step over it. And so immediately they get that reinforcement that, okay, wow, it is different. It's not the same. And we get it. It's a premium price product. And so the performance needs to meet and exceed their expectations. And with the independent suspension system, because of the design, because of the way it performs, it really does a good job of that.
Yeah, so we're talking about actual impacts to the tires. Have you guys noticed, because I personally have, any like handling improvement for the vehicle and those types of things as well?
Yeah, people feel it in the truck because a couple things happen. One is they become more sensitive to the truck ride.
Yes. Because
the truck suspension is still leaf spring. And so the truck they'll feel it and then they don't, I don't quite feel it as much in the trailer. But it helps tone down some of the jerking and chucking that happens because the trailer, what happens when you have expansion joints, you have those bridge joints, sometimes it throws force from the rear of the trailer to the truck. And so people can feel a little bit of a surging and a jerking action. And with the independent suspension system, you don't get that action from the trailer to the truck that usually causes that level of discomfort.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know everybody comes in to the factory super excited to have on it, which means they normally a lot of them just trust people and they say, this is the best, I got to have it. Some other people come in because they had a bad experience with something previous or some sort of a situation on the road where they went, never again. And they came in. When someone gets their IS, like I said, they come in so excited that they almost forget about some of the benefits after the IS is in, besides the actual suspension working, because you don't have as much maintenance. You still have maintenance, but you don't have as much as a traditional axle system, correct?
Exactly. So the maintenance on an IS, you still have bearings.
Sure.
And so you're going to pack those every 12 months, 12,000 miles. So that is routine. You need to do that.
Right.
When you do that, there are grease zerks on the bottom of what we call a torque bracket. And so once or twice a year, all you have to do is apply grease there. After that, it's strictly visual inspection. There's a hydraulic shock absorber. You just check and see if it looks like there's oil leaking. That hardly ever happens. And then you have rubber shear springs. The rubber shear springs is what moves up and down. It cushions and absorbs the shock. It comes with a 5-year warranty. We've seen them in the transit bus industry. Those springs go upwards of 200,000 miles without needing to be replaced. So there's really not a lot of maintenance to do. You start with your normal bearing pack and then obviously have your brakes checked, whether they're electric or disc. But in terms of the MORryde itself, it's very, very minimal.
And that was one of the bigger appeals too, is yes, you get all the suspension stuff, which is the reason why you're doing it, but also knowing you have peace of mind that you don't have to continuously mess with everything down there. Now you guys offer an add-on to the independent suspension and a disc brakes package as well, but typically if you do it at the time of installation of your IS, you actually end up saving some labor, my understanding, right?
Yeah, so disc brakes are a great option. They can reduce stopping distance by 30 to 40%. They're smoother, they're quieter, it's much more automotive. And manufacturers offer the disc brakes from the factory sometimes. And so if a customer comes here with disc brakes, we can just reinstall them. But sometimes they come with electric brakes and they say, hey, can I add electric brakes? Well, we already have to jack the unit up. We already have to pull everything off. So rather than doing it twice, we do it once.
Right.
And yeah, there's savings of upwards of $700 to $1,000 versus having disc brakes done separately from when the independent suspension system is done.
Very cool. So when people are here for their IS appointment, you guys do a tour almost every day, is my understanding. And typically at some point during that tour, you end up in this little room that's in the building we're in called the showroom, which is code for just give them your credit card, wander around a point. Because I don't know that I walked in there and went, oh, that. You just start finding trays, TV mounts. I mean, literally the amount of stuff you guys have in that showroom and the other things that you guys make outside of suspension, it's like you just purposely go and listen to people and go, I can solve that. Give me 2 seconds, because we're essentially a machine shop at this point. If you had to pick like the best sellers in that room, what are some of those accessories?
Oh, wow. So the showroom needs to be twice as big, because we always ask people, so tell us what would help you enjoy your RV more?
Right.
What would help you enjoy the lifestyle more? So it goes in spurts. 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago, it was steps. We had come up with steps that went all the way to the ground. They were more secure, more stable, and it literally changed the industry. When we offered to manufacturers, they weren't as excited because it cost more money and it would change the way dealers manage their lots. But we went to consumers and they just loved the safety and security of it, because they could go up and down. They could literally not have to worry about falling on their steps. So that changed the industry. That led to new accessories, because people said, well, you know what? It's great that the steps go all the way to the ground, but I still have to grab a handle.
Yes.
And when I'm coming down, I run out of handle. So we had an RV inventor come to us and say, well, why don't you make it like your house? And we said, what do you mean? He says, well, when you have stairs, you have a stair rail. Why don't you have a rail for your RV steps? So the safety rail came out.
Right.
Very, very popular. That came out just a couple of years ago, and literally within 6 months, manufacturers started offering it. Well, we had an RVer come to us and say they all do the RV dance. And we said, well, what's the RV dance? And the dance is, well, I walk up the steps, I grab my door, I walk down the steps, I open the door, and I walk back up the steps. So you go up, down, open, up. And so we had a latch extender, and now you can literally open the door with just a finger. So that's been very, very popular. Another one was stabilization. When you're at a campground and it's a windy day, or if you have a big fifth wheel that has a washer dryer and put on the spin cycle, or you're just walking through the trailer and you feel that movement back and forth. So we met an inventor who had a line of stabilizer products. And so we just came from the Hershey show, and that was very, very popular. So it goes in waves as we meet inventors who has new ideas, as we just listen to customers where they say, hey, if you could do this, we'd really appreciate it. And so we just keep adding, and that's where cord reels came from, and sliding trays, and flat screen TV mounts, and yeah, we're waiting for the next big thing.
I was going to say, so is there one product that somebody came up with on your team somewhere, and you guys end up taking it, and you're sitting there as Jack, not necessarily as somebody more, going, why would I ever use this? Like, this is the most random thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't know that was that big of a need. Because I've got it for me, because you gave it to me as we were leaving from our install. And to this day, I say it's my most surprising product I've ever had on my RV.
All right, so now you got my curiosity.
I'm making Jack get outside the box and think a little bit here.
What in the world? So sometimes there's big things, sometimes there's small things.
Right.
So one of the small things, it was like, seriously? And that is what we call a cord keeper.
That was mine.
Oh, that's funny.
Because you handed it to me. Because at the end of the day, it's not a very expensive product.
Yeah, no,
it's a very simple thing, and you don't think about it, but...
Yep.
I didn't. It was one of those things, like, I didn't know I needed it. I didn't even know it existed until you handed it to me.
Yep.
And then I used it, and I was like, now after like a couple of weeks of travel and using it, I'm like, where has this thing been my whole life?
Yeah.
Like, it just makes life easier at the end of the day. Plus, you're not damaging your cord. All the actual benefits from it. At the end of the day, for me, it's convenience.
Yeah. And same thing for me when it was someone internally who was an RVer said, you need to do this. I'm going like, why would you need to do this? And so I was when it first came out, I was still pretty skeptical, and I was doing a seminar at a rally. And at the end, I was going to give one away. And I said, okay, so your 7-way cord, what do you do with it? Well, you don't want to leave it hanging on the ground because that's when critters get inside of it. So some of you stuff it in the back of your pin box, right?
I'm guilty of that prior to
Okay,
this.
that's what I do. And we had heard some people say, yeah, I fray my cord and whatever. And then somebody said, well, yeah, what about bird's nests? I said, what are you talking about, bird's nests? And so at this seminar, 120 people, and I said, okay, now how many of you have ever stuck your head in the back of your pin box and found a bird's nest? And half the crowd raised their hand.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going like, are you kidding me? And so we've seen that product. Now, since then, couple other times, I've asked about the bird's nest, and people say, oh, yeah, bird's nest. And then I've had 2 guys, different seminars, both said, yeah, they found snakes back there.
Oh,
and I said, okay. I said, I'm out.
Yeah, I was about to say, I will burn the rig to the ground.
I'm out.
Sorry, Alliance. We're going to have to build another one. But it's going to be gone.
Yeah, so the little dinky cord keeper, you just can put mesh across the back, close off your pin box, and now you got a simple way with a magnet to just store that cord.
I was going to say, I don't even take it off, to be honest with you. I just leave it up there and wrap it because it spins too, which is, again, one of those genius things. Like, why does it spin? Like, who thought of that? I don't. You have some people that go past when you're doing the R&D side, and now I have a whole new podcast idea. So thank you. What's the most random thing you found nesting or living on your RV that shouldn't be there? I'm guessing mice is probably number one. But so with that being said, with some of that kind of fun small intervention or big stuff in the suspension world, what's ahead for MORryde in 2025 and possibly on that we can talk about at least?
Yeah. So sometimes it's just expansion of existing product. Sometimes in 2025, one of the things we're really excited about is bringing a product back.
Right. So
a few years ago, we had developed a product called the Patio EX. It was an air chamber tent that went on the back for toy haulers. And so what it allowed you to do is basically have another 8x8 space. If it used air chambers, it had windows, it had mesh. So if at the end of the day you still wanted to be outdoors, but it was raining and the bugs were coming, well, you could just zip it up and you could be outdoors on the patio.
So essentially it's an inflatable tent, but for the backside of your toy hauler that can reasonably seal it off. And obviously cold and heat aren't really.
Inflatable tent for the back. And so full-time families loved it because it was a place where kids could sleep back there on sleeping bags or whatever. It was in the evening. Again, I don't have to go indoors. I don't have to close it up. And it was great temporary added space. And so we had the product for a couple years. And anytime when you have a first product, you always want to make innovations and changes. And so we listened to feedback, and there were some things we wanted to do. Well, right when COVID hit, we wanted to make changes. And working with, because we don't deal a lot with cloth and air chambers, working with a supplier, and they told us, okay, 9 to 12 months to make changes, and then another 9-month lead time. So 2 years before you can see new products. So it's like, okay, we're done with it. We just set it aside, sold it out, and just, even though we got requests of, hey, can I buy it? Can I buy it? Well, a used market popped up.
Oh.
And so we started hearing reports of people buying it
when there's a
used.
need.
And it's like, are you kidding me? And so we dug into it. And then we reached out back to our supplier, and all of a sudden lead times were nowhere near. And so our designers got together and said, okay, we want to make this change, this change, this change. So we just showed it at the Hershey show last week with a coming soon. At the end of this year, probably December, January, we're going to be shipping again. And the rumor has gotten out there. And so we're so excited at the enthusiasm. And it will be on display at the Tampa show, and we'll be shipping it by then. And it's just us listening to customers saying we kept on hearing, bring it back. And it's like, okay, we will bring it back if we can do it to the MORryde level of quality.
So some guy that created his own black market version of these just got his heart broke because he's like, I've got 12 of these. Crap,
right.
what am I supposed to do now?
Well, if he had 12, he probably sold it already.
Yeah, right.
Because the word got out, and it was just like, are you kidding me? But yeah, it's just us. We want to listen to customers, and again, it's got to be at a certain quality level.
Sure.
Without those changes, we would not have sold it. But we really made the product a lot better than it was.
Very cool. Anything else coming out that we can talk about?
So.
Again, I'm going to keep twisting your arm to something really, I mean, that's good, but I'm looking for something that's never seen the light of day before.
Never seen the light of day.
I would argue the thing you were telling me about earlier is kind of that because it's a new take on it.
Yeah. The I-beam, we have a new product, an expansion of a product line called the I-beam stabilizer coming out, and it's to help stabilize mostly fifth wheels and travel trailers that have I-beam frames. Many of the larger fifth wheels have 6-point leveling jacks, and we don't have a way to attach those hydraulic leveling jacks. But now with this product, we can attach front or rear on an I-beam frame and really help tone down that side-to-side movement. It's also going to work on units, travel trailers that have electric scissor jacks, or electric stabilizer jacks. And so we're just going to help provide a level of just get rid of that unwanted movement and just make it more stable when you're at a campground. A windy day, you don't feel it. I had a story of a customer who had a little small travel trailer, and he got stuck in a windstorm. And he said, Jack, I promise you guys saved my life. I said, okay, yeah, right. What did we do? And he said, it was so windy. He said, they were straight line winds, and the stabilizer, your X-brace just worked. And I had friends and neighbors going like, I can't believe your trailer's still here. I can't believe you didn't tip over. And so you hear stories like that. But
see, MORryde saving lives.
Yeah, but the reality is, it's when you go to the campground and, Lauren's in bed and you get up to go get a drink of water, she's not going to go like, hey, Ryan, can you please walk quieter? She's not going to do that because she just
knows
works.
Better that button doesn't exist, but there's we can get better at it at least.
So that's an example. And then we get into small things. We have a new line of we call them step tread covers. People, especially with pets,
I'm staring at them.
Yeah, what they're afraid of is that the pet's claws are going to dig into that aluminum, or it's hot or it's cold or it's wet or it's slippery. And there's all kinds of ones out there. There's carpet, and there's kind of like the AstroTurf, and they just really weren't to the level that we were comfortable. So we investigated the marine industry. So found some high quality marine grade. It's kind of like a rubber vinyl combination, but it's slip resistant. Mm-hmm. It's soft, so the pets aren't going to have issues. It's easy to install, and then it cleans really, really simply. So that is literally brand new as well, and we're going to install some on your unit when you're done.
I was about to say, because I saw them standing here, sitting here, and I'm like, oh, I hope those are for me.
Yeah,
because I will tell you, I have an ice story. We had this rig, and it happened to be in Texas in the winter, and we had some rain come through, and I didn't know it got slightly below freezing. Shocker, the forecast guys got it wrong. And it ended up freezing on our stairs, and I had no idea. And if you know me, I wear cowboy boots a lot, which have a heel, which is not super rubbery because of how they're built. It's just a regular sole. And my heel hit that, and I played the Plinko game with my rear end down said stairs. And let's just say I felt that one for a while. Yeah. It's my own fault for not knowing at the end of the day. But for somebody that might have mobility problems or balance issues or any of those types of things, any help is good help. And at the end of the day, it's just more secure where, it's still going to freeze, right? Yep. I mean, if there's water on it and enough of it, it's still going to freeze. But it almost, I'm staring at it, and we'll put pictures to some of the things we're talking about in the show notes that you guys can link through. If you're watching this, I'll put it in the video. But it almost looks like tire tread is kind of the idea. So I'm assuming then water does hit it, it falls in between there and then tries to drain out the sides so that you keep that contact like a tire would on the road.
Just think of, in the boat industry, think of the floor, and it's not going to just pool water, it's going to dissipate it. So that, we're excited. Again, we just showed them at Hershey and at a Owners Club last week, and now they're going to go to market.
Very cool. Anything else in the depths of R&D up there?
No, there's one. Stay tuned.
Teasers are okay.
Okay. No, it's okay. I can share. Again, we get approached by inventors all the time, and
I promise this will be the last one then.
I think that the reason they trust that we're not going to knock off their idea, they trust that we're not going to steal their technology, that we're going to work with them. And this one is really kind of cool. When they approached us last year at Tampa, it was like, really? Because we don't even get in this space. But one of the inventors is a full-time RVer and family of 4, and he's at campgrounds, and he only stays at campgrounds. He doesn't go boondocking, whatever. And one of the things he hated was emptying the black tank.
Okay.
And so he was an engineer by trade, and he has designed, it's called a diverter valve, and it allows you to divert around the black tank. So when you're at a campground and you use, it goes straight to the sewer and not through the black tank.
Oh, it's before the tank.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm thinking post. I got that stuck in my head.
Before the
kind
tank.
of like the extra valves you can.
No, it diverts basically.
Interesting. So because I've heard of people that are more stationary.
Yep.
And they will actually, I don't know if they remove their tank, but they bypass it.
Yep.
Because from that standpoint, now you don't have the same issues. Because then at that point, all you have to do is put, well, I guess I don't know if you put a P-trap in the line or not. That's depending on you, I guess. But it goes directly into the sewer system, so there is no holding, so you just don't dump.
There is no holding, so you avoid the black tank. And then the second product he came up with is called the Snap Trap, which is a way to make a P-trap out of your hose. Huh. And so that's coming too. That one will be within the month or so. But we took it. They made a really nice display. We took it to Hershey and talked to influencers, talked to consumers, and then showed many manufacturers. And so that's one that it's going to take a little bit to get it to market because an existing RV doesn't have the space. Well, some fifth wheels do. Motorhomes and travel trailers is kind of tough. And then, okay, what does the installation look like? Well, you probably need to be a plumber to do it. So the aftermarket is going to be kind of hard, but this could be the type of product we could be talking a year from now and go like, wow, innovative manufacturers have said, hey, I'm incorporating it into it. And then one of the features you'd be selling is something that's a little bit more residential, no holding tank to dump.
I was going to say, I could see that starting off really popular with people that don't plan to travel very much. Like they might, they camp host
seasonal
for the fun of it kind of a thing. So they're somewhere for 2, 3, 5 months or even completely stationary where it has a tank. Like there's a lot of park models out there that still have tanks because that's what it is. I know some of them just bypass and they just say there is no tank, but a lot of them still do. And so I can see that kicking there and then eventually working its way down to everybody kind of a thing.
Yeah. So, again, you asked for ideas. I'm giving you one that's not to market. I mean, the inventors...
Blue sky. This is the blue sky section here.
This is blue sky. The inventors are really excited, and the Hershey show is just a great place to just get feedback. And so stay tuned on that one. I think you're going to see at least one manufacturer. Many of them have interest, but usually when there's something new, it requires a lead manufacturer who's got credibility, who people look to do something. And then when they do, then this industry is a lot of Me Too.
Yeah, I've noticed that. They like to follow the leader quite a bit.
They follow the leader.
Just who's the leader on this one kind of a thing.
So you got a scoop.
I was about to say, that's exciting. That's super interesting. I'm kind of curious to see where that goes, especially in this is the kind of, I like to figure things outside of my brain. I'm curious to see how people will retrofit in their RVs if they want to put it on. Because I'm assuming if somebody really wants to buy a product and it's at market, whether it's an OEM, that you guys will sell it to them. Yeah. They'll just kind of, as long as you feel like that it has a reasonable opportunity to be installed correctly so that the reputation of it doesn't get damaged anyway.
Fifth wheels have a good shot. Travel trailers are really, really tough. Motorhomes are really, really tough. But fifth wheels is where it's going to start. And we're already arranging some retrofits coming out of Hershey because people said,
very cool.
I can do this. And I'm a handyman. I can tackle it.
That's the same thing too. Once a few people get it done and they know how to do it, you start to learn how the install process can move forward, kind of the order of operation. So that's very cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jack, if everybody wants to find out more about where to find products that could be coming out soon, stuff that's already out, more information from anything MORryde produces, where can they find that?
Yeah, so two places. Social media. So Facebook is where we're most prominent, Instagram. And then go to our website, www.MORryde.com, where we do announcements. But usually social media is where we do the teaser. And then what we tell people is, sign up, send us an email, and get on our mailing list.
Yes.
And when you get on our mailing list, we're going to, announce for example, the Patio EX that's coming out, we're going to have a pre-sale where people can get discounts and free shipping, and if they want to be one of the first, and then we announce new products. And so get on our mailing list, and then you'll be the first to know.
Very cool. And we'll have links to everything down in the show notes. So if you're curious about how you can find those products, visit the website and everything Jack just told you. Also, if you're curious about the independent suspension, make sure and email sales@MORryde.com, and that's MORRYDE.com. There is an extra R in there, which I made that mistake early on a couple of times on accident. So, man, thank you so much for everything. And as always, hosting us and letting us hang out overnight in your parking lot and all the fun stuff that we get to see when we come here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, so much. If you're interested in those products, like I said, make sure to visit those show notes down below, and we'll be right back.
All right, that was our sit down and interview with Jack Enfield. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we have one little thing before we let you go for the week. If you are looking for something to do in January, so we are officially going to be one of many creators that's going to be part of something called the United Rally. So the United Rally is a combination of a bunch of RV and travel channels. There's going to be a lot of our friends there. The whole thing is being put together by Todd and Sheila over at Switch It Up. But we were super excited to find out that a bunch of our friends from RV Unplugged Season 1 are going to be there, as well as some new friends. So the winners of Season 2, Jack and Shelby Tesser, are going to be there, or as their YouTube channel is now called, The Bimble Effect. And then in addition to that, we've been nicknamed the Scotch Bros, which I don't know that I love that nickname because we went through some alcohol. But Mike and Susan from RV Blogger, as well as Chris and Katrina from Our Everyday Getaway, and then Dave and Tanya from Turn It Up World, Let's Turn It Up World. All of the turnings of the worlds are going to be turned up. So there is a bunch of other channels there, like Our Road Less Traveled, and the list goes on and on and on. You can visit rvunitedrarally.com for more information and tickets, and we are going to be having some fun. It is going to be in the Tucson, Arizona area. Technically, we're camping at the Pima County Fairgrounds, right there just southeast of Tucson. And so just know that it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're not going to want to miss it if you happen to be out west for the winter. All right. Get your tickets to that. Big thanks to MORryde and Jack and everybody over there for the things that they do for the RV industry and taking the time to sit down with us. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will catch you next week.